You are listening to Leaders and Legends, a podcast produced by Veteran Strategies and featuring conversations with fascinating and impactful men and women who have shaped our world, our communities, and our history. My name is Robert Vane, Principal of Veteran Strategies, and your host for our discussion. You're listening to Leaders and Legends, a podcast presented by Veteran Strategies, a local veteran public relations enterprise, and sponsored by Girl Scouts of Central Indiana, Garmond Construction, Leaders and Legends LLC, the Grand Hall and Conference Center at Historic Union Station, the McGinley's Golden Ace Inn, and McAllister Machinery, your friendly neighborhood Caterpillar dealer. You may find all your sales and rental equipment needs at McAllister.com. We are pleased to announce our podcast is now a member of the All Indiana Podcast Network in partnership with Wish TV. You may find Leaders and Legends at allindianapodcastnetwork.com. Thinking of starting a podcast or need to host a public meeting? Let Leaders and Legends LLC be your partner as you look for new ways to communicate your message. Please contact Chris Spangle or me at leadersandlegends.net. Thank you for joining us on the Leaders and Legends podcast. Our guest today is Paul Lushin, founder and CEO of Lushin. What he offers people like me is a chance to learn more about yourself, learn more about your business, and in a lot of ways, based on my experience, because I am a customer, how to serve your community better. It's a holistic approach, and it's been very enlightening for me. Paul, thank you very much for coming on the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
You were born in Kokomo, blue-collar town. Certainly had some rough spots as you were growing up. What was it like to be a young man in Kokomo and grow up in the 70s and 80s?
First of all, I think when I drive through Kokomo today and I look at what once was as I drive through, and God, I was lucky to be a kid in Kokomo back then. I was very fortunate. It was vibrant, busy, factories were full, parking lots of factories were full. But now you look at it and it's I don't know, it's just, it's a shame. But growing up in Kokomo was awesome. It really was. Sports, schools, just, I don't know. I cannot explain what kind of a great childhood I had in Kokomo. And I think more when I get nostalgic and I look back at where Kokomo has been and where it's going, I think there's the rearview mirror is more vivid than the vision ahead, unfortunately.
I've said this on the podcast with other folks who are basically my age, and I'm 53, that growing up in the 70s and 80s is probably one of the 3 or 4 greatest things I've ever experienced. It was such a wonderful time to be a kid.
Yes, and we inhaled back then too, didn't we?
We took big wheels off ramps in the middle of the street.
And we ate paint chips, and I'm sure we played in many of attic with asbestos, so we survived somehow, some way. But no, I think you're absolutely right. And can you imagine the clothing back then that we wore? Those leisure suits, right?
The faded yellow Olin Mills or whatever pictures that get posted on Facebook from time to time where everybody looks like the Osmond family, from back in the day. Do you have a particular memory of that time that is most enjoyable to you besides playing with your friends, that sort of thing? Like, wow, this really stands out.
Yeah. I guess what stands out are things that cause me to reminisce with a smile on my face is not having air conditioning. You know, we didn't have air conditioning and just listening to Continental Steel in the background with its air hammer, and you'd fall asleep to the air hammer, you know, the boom, whatever. You know, I'm not a very good imitator of noises, but just having the window down and how the noise carried, and you would fall asleep to it despite being miserably hot. And then man, Highland Park in Kokomo was our life, catching crawdads and, you know, playing baseball, wiffle ball, and those were some of the great memories.
Do you think kids today would be amazed at how much fun you could have back then? with no money?
Oh, sure. And no helicopter parents back then. I mean, we would take our bikes everywhere from the neighborhood to across town to downtown, and parents did know where you were, and it was okay.
No way to check in.
And then on top of that, WGN Chicago had the Cubs on every day at I think 2:30, and so we would find a place to hunker down and watch some Cubs. So we had to go someplace where there's no parents, okay? Because in the 70s, you had to slip off and at least smoke a cigarette or so, or at least try one when you're 15. And I contacted a friend a couple years ago, and I saw that his brother had tragically passed, and so I called him up, and the first thing, he goes, "I hate you," and he meant it in a very funny way. And I go, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Oh, we smoked cigarettes when I was 15. I'm still smoking today, and I hate you for it."
Oh, that's funny.
But back then we all had to smoke. I
think it's one of the things when I deal with my own kids who are 31, 20, and 18. But when you talk about growing up and how different it was the lack of parental involvement from a sense of what you just said. You just left, and they couldn't fathom, as I used to say, you'd leave at 10 or in the morning and you'd come back at 6, and you never call in and you never came through unless you wanted something to drink or eat. But they couldn't process that in their mind, that I would allow my kid, like right now, to be gone for 8 hours and never hear from them. But it was second nature for us, and second nature for our parents. Like, get the hell out.
Well, I think there was a lot more, I don't know, trust. And I don't know where that trust has eroded. Is it that we have lost trust in society and how they treat our kids? I don't know, and I haven't got that one figured out. But, getting disciplined in school, where I got whacked. I remember I got whacked a few times for throwing snowballs. Got whacked a few times for fighting in school. Yeah, I got in a lot of fights in school. And, my mom and dad didn't go to school and clamoring about me being whacked or the injustice of physical corporal punishment. Now, if we were to do that, a school principal or a dean would do that, they would have, outrage at the next school board meeting. But yet those fleeting moments of discipline built character. I got to tell you, it built character.
I used to always laugh that since both of my parents were in the Marine Corps, I didn't mind the discipline in school. Like, that was somewhat of a relief.
Yeah, that was child's play, right?
You're a tall person. Did you play basketball in high school or play any sports? Because back then, you're talking single class basketball, Kokomo Anderson, a lot of good rivalries there.
No, I had the coordination of a baby calf. No.
But how big was sports to you, like in high school, like that whole scene of Indiana basketball in the 70s and 80s? Now that we have classes, it's not nearly as fervent as it used to be. We've had a lot of sports writers on, Bill Benner and others, who talked about Robin Miller, how amazing it was back then. Do you recall going to games and how big it was?
My grandfather was from Macedonia. And my grandfather, this is my paternal grandfather, came from Macedonia, and he took me to watch at Memorial Coliseum in Kokomo. I don't know, every game, and for like 3 or 4 years until I kind of grew out of it. But he loved basketball, and coming from Macedonia, where I remember him recounting stories with me. They played soccer in soccer fields, and it was not uncommon. And I don't mean to be take this down an R-rated track, but it was not uncommon back then to play soccer, and one of the players would hit a landmine left over from World War I, and but yet they played anyway. They played anyway, which was really bizarre, and but he just thought so much of America. He just loved it, and something else. And I still have a copy of the warrant for his arrest, his immigration arrest. So he came over here in April, I'm sure I'll be wrong, April 10th, 1927. But he came over here first in 1923 and was shipped back. I think he came through Ellis Island, and he was 16. And so he went back to Macedonia. He was rejected. And then the second time, he was a double crosser. He double crossed and came through Canada in 27.
Oh, okay. I was going to ask you what that meant.
On the SS Arabic, and he came through Halifax, Nova Scotia. And so then he came through the United States through Detroit. And then I remember as a kid, our family was panicking about writing letters because a warrant had been issued for his arrest, and they were looking for him. And this man, here he's got 5 kids already, 5 grandkids. He was working in the steel mill and had his own restaurant for 25 years, and it was just that's a very memorable time. Vague memories, but,
sure.
But we'll come back full circle to basketball. I did not know what classes were back then. My other grandfather was a basketball referee, and he was the alternate referee for the Milan game.
Oh, the Milan Miracle game? Was that
yes,
54?
Yes. I think so. But I have his whistle, and I have the program from that day. And he sat on the bench in case one of the other referees was sick or sprained an ankle. He would come in, enter the game. But so my knowledge of basketball was I don't know, just limited. I was really big into baseball, played baseball, and I just enjoyed my time with my grandfather at the basketball games. But partaking in the game, man, I was so uncoordinated that it was just best for me just to stay off the field or the field. Listen to me, stay off the court.
In high school, you started your first business. Is that correct?
I did.
Tell us about it.
Well, I got a camera for Christmas, and I liked it. But I also, I don't know, I really like photography. And someone had asked me, would you mind taking pictures of, I was at a swim meet, and someone said, hey, some of those pictures, would you mind taking a couple pictures of my daughter? And there was an exchange of money, and I declined. But then it got me thinking, well, some money. Because, when you're 12, 13, 14, 15 years old, you have limited options. My very first job was at Craig's restaurant in Kokomo at 12, child labor, 60 cents an hour. And I remember driving there on Monday when they were closed to get my paycheck, which was cash of $3.60. I thought that was high cotton. So, the camera really was a gateway to a different world. It was a gateway to buy a bicycle. It was a gateway to buy a car. And so I learned how to make money taking pictures. And I took pictures, weddings, all the way up to senior pictures. I did a lot of senior pictures in high school and loved it. And to this day, I still take pictures. And I don't do it for money, but it is a hobby I absolutely love.
You went to Concordia College.
In St. Louis, yes.
Why Concordia? Why leave Indiana with all these good schools here?
Well,
something specific about it?
No, I became a police officer in Houston Police Department back in '82, give or take. And so when I went to, I barely graduated high school. I mean, barely. I remember, going to spring school, spring break school, night school, summer school, everything just to graduate. I mean, I think I was like 439 out of 479, so I was pretty bad. But when I went to the Houston Police Academy, I graduated number 1 in my class, and I graduated number 2 academically. And in our household, it wasn't any type of implied or any subtle hints that you're going to go to college, so it just really wasn't on my grid. But once I graduated number 2 academically, number 1 in the Houston Police Department, Police Academy, I go, oh, hang on, I might want to consider higher education. And so when I left the Houston Police Department for the Odessa Police Department, the Odessa Police Department was an extraordinary experience, and I love that town, that experience, the people that I worked with, absolutely love them. We're still in connection today, 35 years later, give or take. But I started going to, in fact, I went to the Odessa Police Department because part of their edge over the Houston Police Department was they would allow you to go to school and they would pay for it. So I started going there at a community college and also University of Texas Permian Basin, and I really got downrange in a degree program, and then I had an opportunity to come back to Indianapolis, and I got on the Indianapolis Police Department. So I kind of put my educational path on hold. Then I went into the corporate world. I worked for Ecolab 10 years, and they transferred me to St. Louis. And as my kids were getting older, I thought, man, it's going to be hard for me to really press and push the higher education angle when they could always say, but Dad, you didn't go. So that's when I decided to go. And Concordia, which was not the real perfect match for me, but what made it a match was in shopping for the different universities, I was looking for someone, an institution that had an adult type accelerated learning, and who would give me credit for classes attended.
Sure.
And Concordia was very liberal. So, they would take like probation. Well, that could be an elective. They would take police administration. Oh, that could be a business class. So they were really good at connecting some dots for me. So I went there 2 years, and that's how I got my degree. And it was not for any other reason. And now, let me tell you, it's a Lutheran college. So whether you had basket weaving or statistical math, you were talking Jesus somehow, some way during that class.
You mentioned a few minutes ago law enforcement. What about being in law enforcement was attractive to you?
Oh, making a difference. It's easy. And I think that's what a lot of people struggle with is, when you go in, you have to go into police work with the right heart. Even though that some officers may think they're not making a difference, but when you go into it, you can see a direct corollary between what you do and the difference that you're making day in, day out. And I know that people in the workforce where they're exchanging time for money or a result for money, outside civil service, sometimes they struggle with, how am I making a difference? But police work, it was easy. I felt every day I went to work, I was making a difference. I was being purposeful. I was adding to the collective. And I think a lot of people struggle with that today is they struggle with how am I, by me selling this widget, how am I advancing the cause of humanity? How am I making a difference? Well, they are. They just need help with discovering that.
But there's something about that sort of service, and maybe this resonates, but maybe it doesn't. But a lot of the professions for which I have the most respect are the ones that I would never personally do. I would never be a teacher. I just would never want to be a fireman, a plumber, a cop, a police officer, a coroner, all those sorts of things where it's like, I couldn't even imagine doing that. And so when it comes to law enforcement and law enforcement officers, I'm lucky. My first job out of graduate school was working at the sheriff's garage at 42nd and Shadeland. This was 20 plus years ago. And I met the best people, just terrific group of people. But there is something internal with folks who do that, or who join the military, or who serve in combat, that they put themselves behind others unless they're purposely shielding others physically as part of their duties. Is that something that resonated with you? Like, this is how I can give back.
I think at a very early age, me being a protector of less fortunate, weaker, and weaker is not the right word necessarily. Maybe at a disadvantage, more vulnerable. There's a lot of words to describe that. that always resonated with me. And I was as coordinated as a baby calf on the ball court. I wasn't very coordinated, and I was tall, slanky, skinny. Did I get made fun of? Absolutely. Why did I get into fights? Is because there was a point in time where my circuit breaker said enough's enough, and so I used to liken it with if someone spits in your face, okay, I'll just back away, turn my back. The next day they spit in your face. Okay, this is just got to be an ass kicking I got to take. I mean, I can't walk away from this one. Mm-hmm. So, by being that tall, slanky, awkward kid, there was some bullying components. And in a way, sometimes I think bullying isn't bad. I'm not going to encourage my kids to go bully, but then again, I was bullied, and I think it was good for me to some degree. That can be defining times in your life. So, I think some of that helped encourage me to go into law enforcement is to help right any wrongs, help to talk for those people who can't talk for themselves, to advocate for people who can't advocate for themselves. And I love law enforcement, and I loved it back then. I still love it today.
Do you have a favorite TV or movie cop?
No, I have a hard time with TV shows or movies that try too hard. And but to me, the most realistic, there's two out there that are realistic to me that I can resonate with, and that is End of Watch and Colors with Sean Penn and Robert Duvall.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the Robert Duvall, Sean Penn, just that whole I don't know. I can that was in my time frame, so that I could relate to that. Cars. So
no Dirty Harry.
No,
No
never.
T.J. Hooker.
No. Can't connect. Can't connect the dots.
You are listening to Leaders and Legends, a podcast presented by Veteran Strategies, a local veteran public relations enterprise, and sponsored by Girl Scouts of Central Indiana, Garmond Construction, Leaders and Legends LLC, the Grand Hall and Conference Center at Historic Union Station, the McGinley's Golden Ace Inn, and McAllister Machinery, your friendly neighborhood Caterpillar dealer. Our guest today is Paul Lushin, founder and CEO of Lushin. Paul, is there a particular Hoosier leader and or legend you particularly admire?
That's a good one. Yeah, I've got a couple. The first one that comes to mind is Mitch Daniels. And I just like his unrattled, easy way in which he communicates. I don't know. I just like he's real quick. I like what his management style as governor. I like his style as the head of Purdue. And then there's some others that aren't so notorious, I guess, when it comes to leadership. And I think we have let me just speak in general. I think we have a lot of great leaders in Indiana, and they're it's a shame sometimes that they don't get recognized because they never elevate to prominence or elevate to where they're newsworthy on a daily basis. So, and I heard a great podcast this morning. I think it was a podcast. It was by Matthew McConaughey. Matthew McConaughey was talking about, who do you aspire to be? Who's someone that is who's your hero? And he goes, it's me 25 years out. I thought that's pretty good. So maybe my leaders and legends that I aspire to be is me 25 years from today. Because I think that's something really to think about and ponder about.
How different are you now than you were in 1996?
Oh, mercy. A lot less intense. Although I'm very intense. still to this day. I'm still passionate about what I do, passionate about my causes, different. Let's see here, probably less arrogant. Always had a problem with that, being a little edgy, but come on, it is what it is.
Is it arrogance or is it directness?
Oh, I'm very direct. No, but it doesn't matter, because from an arrogance perspective, if that's how I'm perceived, then it's an earned label. But yeah, I've been told multiple times that I could be edgy or self-righteous, direct, arrogant, etc. Now, to me, arrogant, I do not believe I fit the equation of arrogance. I believe that arrogance is about having that edge, which I know I do. In other words, having an attitude, plus being selfish equals arrogance. Selfish, I'm not. Oh, I mean, we're all selfish, but as far as being, when I'm encountering somebody and I push their buttons, I'm pushing their buttons because I want them to be better. If I'm sitting or if I'm talking in front of 50 people, 75 people, and I push some buttons, that's intentional. I want when I leave an audience of several people, I want them walking out going, "Oh shit, I got a lot of work to do." That man made me think.
There's a difference between selfish and stingy.
Well, see, I believe that let's go there. I believe there's a continuum called self-interest, selfish, and then greedy. And we just instantly go from zero to greedy. People, they're greedy. No, they're not. They're probably selfish. There's a difference. And, we talk about the greed of Wall Street. I don't think Wall Street's greedy. I think there's some people there that are greedy. But it's God ordained for us to look after our self-interest. I mean, I cannot help my kids seek the kingdom of heaven unless I seek it first. And the gazelle that gets eaten by the lion or captured by the lion on the Serengeti, that mother lion eats last, she eats first because she's got to make sure she's got energy for the next hunt, because she's got to provide for her kids. So, you got to look after yourself first. And the dairy farmer in Wisconsin didn't wake up one day and go, "Well, honey, you know what? We really need to start milking some cows to provide for our community here." No, that dairy farmer said, "You know what? I see an opportunity that we can sell the milk of our cows." And it totally starts out with a self-interest play. And part of our commerce and perpetuating commerce and an economy is that we tap into our self-interest. And if we tap into our self-interest, we end up helping the collective. Now, selfish to me is when you take a little bit more than you should. And we learned that early on. When you break a candy bar for your little sister and you say, "Oh, I got to share. These sides are not, it's not quite equal. I'll give her the smaller one." So, we learn at an early age that we can be selfish, and all of us have bouts of being selfish. But it's the patterns of being selfish that are problematic. But that doesn't mean they're greedy. A person of greed is someone that they look at every person as an opportunity to exploit. They will stand in your way of your success, so they can be successful. And that's these people. Just Bernie Madoff's a great example.
I was thinking him the whole time you've been saying that. That's the name that's been popping into my head. I didn't know this phrase until I started working at Shield Sexton, which is a construction company here in Indianapolis. A friend of mine says, "Pigs get fed, hogs get slaughtered," and I had never heard that phrase before. Is that one you use or resonates with you when you're talking about greed and greediness?
Sure. Mine is pigs get fat, hogs get slaughtered. I've said that a few times, and it was not original. I remember the day I heard that, and I had to repeat it. It was when I was trying to ask a little bit more money for a piece of property, and they were offering me a lot. And I said, I've never sold a property without countering the offer. And the realtor says, "Paul, let me stop you right here. Don't counter." He goes, "This is a cash deal. They're going to close in 14 days. Pigs get fat, hogs get slaughtered." And I've borrowed the term ever since. So, sure. Sure. And we as a society, we're labeling people these radical labels that maybe aren't deserving. Maybe they're on that continuum somewhere, but we just instantly go from nothing to a whole lot really quick these days. And I think it's to our detriment as a society. And it's unfortunate that we do that. And greed is one. It's one word.
You founded Lushin in 1997. You started as an entrepreneur at a young age. What made you think a company bearing your name could be successful? And why would I come to you to seek your guidance at Lushin, your team's guidance?
Well, I hear like 2 or 3 parts to a question. So a name that bears, or a company that bears my name. We'll start there. First of all, I didn't know any better when I started this business. If I just looked at other people in the sales and sales management training business that was always their last name and associates. And so here I am, a person of one, and I said Lushin and Associates, although I did not have any associates. So it's interesting that here 25 years later we have 15 people, give or take, and we do bring meaning to the word associates, but yet we took associates off. It's just now Lushin. It's interesting how things change. But why do business? And I think that's a good question by the way, because it's I don't think a lot of companies really understand their true why. Why they do what they do. I mean, they're really good at what they do and how they do it, and have some shallow mission of earning a buck or two, but that's not who we are. We're a mission over money company. In fact, we'd rather help a company for free than to see them go out of business. I mean, that's always been important to us. So our why is very clear, and our what we call center line of purpose, and our center line of purpose is a couple things. One is that to help each one of our clients individually and collectively reach beyond anything that they ever imagined before. And second is we're not feel-good trainers, and we're never going to be. If you're going to go to Vietnam.
Emily Shaw is not, my trainer is not a feel-good trainer.
Well, if you're going to Vietnam and you're going, do you want a drill sergeant who's going to be real nice and feel good stuff and be motivational, or are you going to want someone who gets in your ass occasionally?
There's a purpose to it. My son, Joshua, who did 2 tours in Afghanistan, joined the military, joined the Army after 9/11. He wanted to be 11 Bravo, which is combat infantryman. And I'm like, first off, I'm incredibly proud of him for joining.
You should.
And then for choosing combat arms in wartime. I mean, he knew where he was going to go.
And as a dad, I'm sure
it's
nerve-wracking,
incredibly frightening. But I'm like, are you sure you want to do this? Like, and he said, I want the toughness. I want the discipline. And I go, well, you're going to get it. And it's something you're incredibly proud about. But at the same time, you always worry, is it too much? Are people going to reject the training, reject the attitude, the pressure, the stress? And those who don't, to your point, come out as refined steel as you can possibly get.
Yeah. First of all, thanks for your son's service. That's awesome.
Thank you.
I can see as you talk that you're beaming with pride as you talk about your son. That's awesome. So I guess go back to your question, and I'll lay off the salty language, but we're not going to be, and I've never wanted to be a feel-good training company, just because I think that getting someone motivated, I mean, they leave your place, they get in the car, and they drive 4 blocks, then they go to their office to start making cold calls. That motivation is done. We want to align, your values are defined in your behavior. We want to make sure that they value the right things so the behavior comes easy. And sometimes that's interrogatories, not just questions. I mean, these are deep diving questions. And we're committed to being a cast iron type training company, not stainless steel. We really don't care about the optics and all the shiny things. We care about just getting stuff done in a raw sort of way and getting to the rawness of human nature. And how do we unleash that, unlock it, so that people can reach levels they never thought possible. See, they may have these thoughts of I can be there one day, but there's no commitment to it because they don't know how to execute, or they let things get inside their way. They let head trash, all the negative energy inside their head get the best of them, and we work in those areas so that it's not like you can make those. It's not like you can make the head trash go away. You can't make those barriers to success just go away. But we work on how to better manage them, because everything that you want and what's meant to be is on the other side of your fears. We like to help those fears come alive so we can help people see what those fears really are. Now, how do you better manage those fears? So I don't know if I'm getting to the why necessarily, but
well, let me ask a question.
Yeah.
Is it which is more difficult, taking a client who has, let's say, C-level success to B-level success on a grading scale, or is it more difficult to take the person who has B-level success all the way up to the A? Like, I'm doing pretty well. I must know what I'm doing when it comes to sales, and you have to tell them, no, you're not even close to reaching your potential. Is there a difference in the difficulty?
Oh, I don't think so. I think the biggest difficulty, regardless where they are on the spectrum, as far as C player to B player, B minus to an A, it's going to be their pride. If they cannot be intellectually vulnerable with you, okay. In other words, what I mean by that is, look, when they're out there in the real world, they need to have the bravado, the edge, etc. But then when it comes to when they're with a coach or consultant, you got to be smart enough, intellectually vulnerable. You need to be smart enough to say, okay, now I'm in front of a coach, an advisor. I need to be vulnerable. And that's important. If someone can go there where you can do a deep dive into what's going on, because look, I think what we sell, and I'm going off the grid here a bit. Look,
please go ahead.
When someone sees me at a party, what do you do, Paul? Well, sales training, sales management training. It's just easy for someone to wrap their arms around it. But that's not what we sell. We're business development consultants, but the bottom line of that is we sell sales wisdom, sales management wisdom. So where we are in our zone is about wisdom, because selling is about decoding human behavior. There's a lot of complexities, a lot of nuances to that, and it's not about fancy one-liners or manipulating or maneuvering or scheming to get things done. It's about how do I decode this person that I'm in front of so I can help facilitate a conversation where this person feels, trusts, and respects me to the degree that they can disclose comfortably what it is they need fixed. And it's not about tactics and fancy one-liners, and it's just not. It's about wisdom.
You were
insight.
Excuse me. You were talking a few minutes ago about your characteristics and your personality. How do you handle it when you run up against someone who's just like you?
I think I unfortunately attract a lot of people just like me. I pray every day that Jesus send me people I can help. And I think he sends me the people that are just like me. I swear he does. Yeah, I have clients that I have a lot of similarities, and I'm upfront with them. You got some traits that I have. I just thank God I'm 40 years ahead of you on the problem.
Does that facilitate an understanding, or is it more of you guys become goats on a mountain?
I don't know what goats on the mountain mean.
Banging your heads against each other.
No, I don't know. And the gray hair gives me an advantage, and the wisdom gives me an advantage. because I'm dealing with someone 10 years younger, or let's just say that they're my age. Okay. But see, I've been dealing with versions of me for the last 30 years, give or take. Right. And, someone like them may have only dealt with a version of themselves once or twice when they were subordinate and they didn't last too long. So I'm a coach and advisor. So, I'm not in someone's life every single day. I'm like guerrilla warfare. I can come in, take a hit, then leave, let them digest what I got to say, then come back 2 weeks later and come back and take another hit and leave.
What is if you could mention one or two or so personality traits that inhibit business growth and larger understanding? Is it lack of confidence, too much confidence?
Well,
the list goes on and on.
Well, I think that the long-term one that gets in the way is no North Star. They don't know why they're doing what they're doing. That's going to be the longer play that gets in their way is no North Star.
And what is Lushin's North Star?
To make a difference in this world, impact those that we work with, to grow beyond what they ever thought possible. That's important to us. That's important to everybody here. I like it. I absolutely love it when people that I work with, their income exceeds my own. Their net worth exceeds my own. I like it because I've been, I'm responsible for that to some degree. I mean, they'll sit there and tell me, thank you. If not for you, fill in the blank.
Sure.
Short term, when I said that your dream, everything that's meant to be and everything that you want is on the other side of your fears. The short term is that fear factor. What are your fears, and why are you letting your fears stand in the way? Why isn't your compelling reason, compelling reason, North Star, mm-hmm. just cause, right? Mm-hmm. Why isn't your compelling reason allowing you to jump through that brick wall of your fears? So short term, it's going to be, the busting through that wall. Long term, let's say you bust through because you're in pursuit of money and you need, it's kind of all about money, and you'll bust down the door for some fear. But in the long term, you're going to have some problems because as you build a team around you, and they're not, they're not going to be wired like you. And if you're going to assemble a team, the team needs to have a vision, mission, and a value statement. The company needs its North Star. It needs to be printed, documented, because where there's clarity, there's energy. And if you need to move the masses of a company, they need to have clarity on why are they doing what they're doing.
One of the most famous lines in movie history is Strother Martin and Cool Hand Luke, who said, "There's some men you just can't reach." Do you accept that's possible, or do you believe that everyone is coachable, everyone has an ability to improve, to grow?
Oh, mercy, mercy. No, I don't think. I think there's a point in time where everybody has their circuit breaker, where I'm done learning, I'm done stretching, and I'll just look at my circuit breaker. Do I want to learn a new TV remote? Whatever happened to TV remotes where it's just up, down on volume, up, down on channels. But now the TV remotes are so complicated, it's on my phone, right? And one more new TV remote, I've reached my circuit breaker. So, and I do think that there's people in life have different circuit breakers, like, and some of them reach it at 21. I'm done learning. I'm just going to binge watch Netflix the rest of my life and drive for Uber.
And that was the question I was asking you a little bit earlier, was the plateauing, where people go, I make $300,000 a year. That's an amazing salary, more than I ever thought. And so they're just happy at that level. And you come in, or Lushin comes in through its associates and says, you're just scratching the surface. There's so much more. How hard is it to shake people, quite frankly, like me, out of that complacency?
Well, first is you got to ask the question to them, why? Why would you want to? And they got to have a why. And if their why is, well, I don't, well, I mean, you're going to have some difficulties. And you can help them discover there's a greater why. But if they don't buy into a greater version of a new why for themselves, you're not going to get anywhere. It's like, a car that gets wrecked. I mean, the cost to repair them exceeds the value of the car, of whatever the car could be. And so sometimes you have people that have been totaled. It's not going to go anywhere.
You started off our professional conversation about your time as a police officer, and yet now you're doing sales training. You're an entrepreneur helping other entrepreneurs. How did that transition, that leap, that change come about?
Well, first and foremost, I think that police work defined me. Working in the corporate world with Ecolab refined me. I had never had any intention of leaving police work at all, but I got fired as a police officer in, I think, 88, give or take. We made a false police report, three of us, and I was the ringleader, so to speak. I was the one that was, let's say this happened. And one thing led to another. Next thing you know, I was without a job. Back when I was 28 years old, it's like.
Is it important for you to say that? To say, this is why I got fired?
That just is what it is. I mean, I don't, just a matter-of-fact statement. Now, I guess, as today, it's more of a matter-of-fact statement that carries less weight than maybe in the very beginning. But I've never hid from the fact that I was terminated, ever. Now I feel like it was a blessing, for the first couple of years, like, oh, man, I'm fired, I'm tarnished. Because you can, at 28 years old, you can get fired, and I don't know if a police officer is it labeled blue collar or white collar. I really don't care. But let's just say I was 28 years old and I was fired from Eli Lilly's so and so department, right? Insert name there, mailroom. I don't care, and they see a gap of employment. No one's going to think anything. But when they see on your resume gap of employment, or not gap of employment, but they just see a short term. Let me rephrase this. If you work someplace else at 28 that you made as much as a police officer, and they see that you were only there 2 years and you went on to something else, no questions are going to be asked. But when they see on your resume that Houston Police Department, Odessa Police Department, and the Indianapolis Police Department. And I wanted to come back home. That's why I left Odessa. And I wanted to come back home. So I applied for the Indianapolis Police Department and got on. And when that's on your resume that you were there 2 years, people scratch their heads like, why?
Yeah, it's a lifetime gig.
Yeah, and then you say you've been fired or terminated. Oh, my God, what happened? Bad cop, crooked cop. So... Man, you just got to deal with it up front. I got fired. And the police department did the right thing. And that's what's frustrating today is that, this was back in 88, right? And people will get up in arms about the police department not doing the right thing. That's not entirely true. The department firing me was the right thing to do. I lied. I fibbed. Mm-hmm. About now when it was being investigated, I didn't fib. I told the truth. Yeah, we wrecked a car. Well, not we. Someone else wrecked the car. It just happened to be my car, and I wasn't in it. But I'm not ashamed to tell the story because I think it's okay to be fired. Sometimes it helps course correct your character. Sometimes it's course correct what is meant to be in your life, what God has ordained for you. I look today at, if not for being fired, I wouldn't be where I am today. And if not for police work being in my life for as long as it's been in my life, I don't think I'd be the coach and consultant I am today.
But now you have the best of both worlds.
Yes, I do.
You're an entrepreneur with Lushin, and you're on the Lawrence Police Department.
Mm-hmm.
Given the immense responsibility you have as a business owner, you add to that by being a public servant in law enforcement. Why the pull?
Well, there's more of a pull now than there was. I had no intention of going back to law enforcement to go work the road. But then the police chief and I were friends, and he said, "Oh, you should go back on the road." And no, I'll just do special projects. And then I went to get my 40 hours to get kind of ramped back up to adhere to or to abide by the law, I guess. I don't quite know the law as far as training, but I have an Indiana Law Enforcement Academy
endorsement.
Yeah, whatever you call it. And I need 40 hours to reactivate that, I think. And so, well, he didn't tell me that then I had to go to a field training. So I had to work the road, and like, okay, he didn't tell me this. So he didn't quite tell me the whole entire story. And, but then I liked it. And so, then soon after, working the road again, which I really enjoyed working the road. I still work the road. I really enjoy it, and I enjoy it for, to me, all the right reasons. And, it's not a middle-age crisis. I got to prove something. It's not where I go relive my youth. It's not that. It's that I think that, your job as a policeman is to make people's the bad days they're having is the best bad day they've ever had. And I think, look, I'm 61 years old, and I know some officers could be listening to this and they go, "Man, this guy's crazy." But this is, to me, a perfect time to be in law enforcement as opposed to the other way around. And I know officers are leaving the department by not feeling support, but the pendulum swings both ways. And I have the luxury of running the Lawrence Police Department cadet program, have for 5, 6, 7 years. I don't know, a long time. And I get to work with these kids and help mold the future of law enforcement.
I mentioned to you before that my very best friend is a man named Jim Dora Jr., who's been a reserve IMPT officer for more than 30 years, and he also owns the Crown Plaza at Union Station and various other hotels.
He's a good man. I know him.
He's a damn good man, and like, instead of doing whatever people like him can do with that level of income and access or whatever, he's working the swamp at Brookside Park on a Saturday night in August, and it's something to be absolutely admired. In your case as well, and all sworn and merit officers and reserves who go out there when they could be doing so many other things, more selfish things. Let me ask you 2 or 3 more questions, and then we'll get to the final 5 questions that we ask of all of our guests.
Oh, mercy.
You had some beers with the Sex Pistols. This is a very unique moment in the Leaders and Legends podcast pantheon. Well, please tell us about it.
I didn't know who they were first. So I'm at, I was walking the paddock at the F1 race. Who was the guy that starred on ER and on the Maverick, his backseat?
Anthony Edwards.
Yeah, Anthony Edwards. So I was with Anthony Edwards, which he had his F1 race. I was talking to him, and I was with a few friends with the pit pass. Or I don't think they call them pit passes, but anyway, the F1 race credentialing is amazing. And I'm with someone, and we sit down with these guys are just absolutely funny. A couple of them are missing their teeth. They're drinking, and they were hooting and hollering. People come up to them and yelling, and they were just loud, obnoxious. And I'm loud and obnoxious, so we connected. And
but have all your teeth?
Yeah, I do have my teeth, all my teeth. And I thought they were drinking motor oil because they're they're drinking this Guinness, right? And I finally, after like an hour, I'm Paul Lushin, and I'm Johnny Rotten. I thought, shit, that name sounds familiar. And then I forget the other one's name. I know one of them's dead, but later I get a whisper in my ear, yeah, these are the Sex Pistols. Oh, okay. Which I never did follow their music.
Sure.
And so I didn't have that awe factor. And the same thing with Anthony Edward. I didn't have that awe factor when I first met him, because he was in line to get the president of the United States to sign his $1 bill with his son. And I just thought he was just an average everyday guy. And he was like this groupie of a crowd, and no one recognized him. And so that was just a very odd, peculiar day. And I did enjoy my beers with the Sex Pistols. However, I did not drink their Guinness motor oil.
One other question I want to ask very quickly is, in 1982, you helped protect Ronald Reagan.
Yes.
How did that come about?
Well, I was Houston Police Department, and so they had I was assigned Hobby Airport, because I liked airplanes, and we knew Ronald Reagan was coming in, but no one knew who the officers were going to be. And so, to me, I'm new. I mean, I'm out of the academy by, I don't know, 4 months, give or take, and so I'm called into the squad room, and you're going to be guarding the president as the plane comes in, blah blah blah, and Lushin, you're with this Secret Service guy, okay. And so he's going to be riding with you, and I got my own cop car, or I go get a car, and so the agent is with me, and he says, we're going to go to the edge of, looks here on the map, Foxtrot, which is a taxiway. And I said, okay. And so we're sitting there on Foxtrot on the airport, and I said, so what are we doing? He says, well, what we're doing is that all air traffic is going to be stopped, and Air Force One is going to be coming in, and this is he's going to go to this I don't know, apron or wherever, and Foxtrot parallels it. And if there's any car that or any plane that comes down Foxtrot, you and I are going to drive into its front landing gear. And I said, we're what? We're what? He goes, we're going to drive into the landing gear. And I said, yes, sir. I mean, okay, I'm all on board.
This is just a year before Reagan had actually been shot. Yeah, so it's got to be heightened.
Anyway, so it's like, what am I supposed to say? Really? What am I supposed to say? And I'll never forget that. And then I don't know. That's a very memorable experience.
Did you get to see him at all?
Yeah, I did.
Distance?
Yeah, I did. I took my camera there, and I gave my camera to. And I had to get my little glimpse, so it wasn't allowed to look at him. But I got my glimpse in, and it was pretty cool.
We have reached the point in the Leaders and Legends podcast where we ask the same 5 questions of all our guests. Mr. Lushin has answered the first question already. What was your first job? Craig's Supermarket. So let me ask you a different first question. What was your first car?
67 Buick LeSabre.
Weighed about how many tons?
Man, I don't know. I have no idea. But what I would give to have that back today, that was a fun car.
What was your first concert?
Oh, that's a story. Foghat.
Did you take a slow ride to the Foghat concert?
Yeah, but listen to this one, okay? So I don't know what your time looks like, but I'm sure you can edit some other stuff out of here to get this story in. So I'm flying back from Florida, and I'm separated from my wife just because I think we were late to Southwest. Anyway, whatever. We were probably the C's and not the A's or the B's, and so we're separated. And the person who I sat next to, he had nice jeans. Just you could tell that the person had, I don't know. He was older than I, a gray-haired guy, but just the watch, the jewelry. You could tell he was a person of wealth. And he opened up his briefcase. He had pictures of grandkids you could see, and fishing. And I saw something that said fog something. So I had to ask. I said, so what do you do? He goes, I forget his name. I can't remember names. He says, I'm the so-and-so with Foghat. And I go, what? Yeah, I'm with Foghat. And I go, oh, that was my first concert. You're kidding me. And he goes, where are you from? He goes, Indiana. I said, Indianapolis. He goes, oh, the Coliseum, which was in 1979, right? And but we got off the next thing you know, we were talking about grandkids, so we were completely off. But he is the business guy. I mean, he's still active in the band, but he's the business guy of the band, and they still play and make money. But his life's all about his grandkids. But you talk about serendipitous meeting.
Chris, I don't think we've had that particular story where you met the person for first concert.
But that's when they still had carnivals or festival seating.
Festival seating, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Question number 3: if you could suggest any book for someone to read, which book would you recommend?
Right now, Green Lights by Matthew McConaughey. Good book.
Number 4: if you could witness any event in history, be there as it happens, which event would you choose?
The birth of Christ.
The last question: if you could have dinner with anyone living today, 2 hours off the record, to talk about anything, whom would you choose?
Well, I guess I got categories. I'd have like religious category, then I have business categories. So since it's the month of May, I'll go to the business category and say Roger Penske. We did some business with Roger Penske. I had my first I had a sales call with Roger Penske at 2004, and that meeting was very good for my career because it got me through a lot of my head trash. Because I remember Roger Penske saying, he asked me what I did because I was in the paddock at the Indy 500, and I said, "Well, I do sales and sales management training," and he goes, "We should talk." He gave me his card. And, I'm scratching my head. Well, why does Roger Penske want to talk to me? Why me? I never called him. So he sees me in August.
You never called him?
No, I didn't. I wimped out. Okay. Hey, look, I tell everybody, we're not imposters here at Lushin. We screw up sales calls too, okay? And so it was in August at the Brickyard, and he walks across the paddock and sees me. He says, "Paul, I thought you were going to call me." Okay, now I got to dance, right? Oh, man, sorry, Roger, I got busy. And then he takes out another business card and he writes down his personal assistant's name and number and says, "Call me." So I call after I walk away with, "Why he wants to talk to me? Who, me? Me?" Right? But so the soonest I could get on his calendar, this was August, right? The soonest I could get on his calendar was February. Wow. Mercy. So anyway, I remember driving there in February, freezing my butt off, and I go into his office, and it's all grand, and I didn't go to his office, but his office building, and it's race cars coming off the wall, Borg Warner trophies everywhere, and they take me to this little corner room. His office is on a road like a triangle, like Mass Ave coming into Pennsylvania or something like that. And they put us in this triangle room, and it's cold. It's cold, and he comes in late. He goes, "Okay, let's jump to it." And so we sold him a 3-day event, and but the reason I'd want to see him today is because me getting past that fear of that imposter syndrome. Why me? Why would someone like that want to talk to me? First is to tell him thank you for that day in August, walking across, remembering my name, and say let's talk, to say thank you for that. And that has paid dividends in my career since. So,
you didn't call Roger Penske. That's great.
Yeah, well.
You have been listening to Leaders and Legends, a podcast presented by Veteran Strategies, a local veteran public relations enterprise, and sponsored by Girl Scouts of Central Indiana, Garmond Construction, Leaders and Legends LLC, the Grand Hall and Conference Center at Historic Union Station, the McGinley's Golden Ace Inn, and McAllister Machinery, your friendly neighborhood Caterpillar dealer. Our guest today has been Paul Lushin, founder and CEO of Lushin, and someone who I can tell you is an incredibly generous man who has gone out of his way to be helpful to me. His team, his service, his giving is absolutely unparalleled. And we thank you very much for your time today.
I enjoyed this.
Thank you very much for listening to Leaders and Legends, brought to you by Veteran Strategies Incorporated. If you want to contact us about this program or our menu of public relations services, please send us an email at robert@veteranstrategies.com. That's robert@veteranstrategies.com.